Imagine waking up to red and blue lights painting your driveway like you just robbed a bank. Except all you did was buy a house outside some HOA's imaginary empire. There she stood, clipboard clutched like a holy sword, the self-crowned queen of Oak Ridge Haven, screaming that you were tampering with community property. Her name? Patricia Langford, or Patty to the poor souls who still nodded at her golf cart parades. But this wasn't just another Tuesday fine for a non-compliant grass height. This was the moment a control freak finally met someone who didn't flinch. And trust me, when that badge came out, her pearls didn't just sweat, they practically begged for mercy. My name's Alex Rivera. 15 years dragging hoses through burning buildings taught me one thing. Real emergencies don't come with laminated bylaws. When my back finally said, enough, and the city sirens stopped letting me sleep, my wife Mia and I hunted for silence. We found it on 3 pristine acres right at the county line, 1 foot outside any HOA reach. I double-checked the maps, the deed, even hired a surveyor who laughed and said, "You're freer than a bird out here, buddy." So I poured the concrete driveway myself, planted native oaks, and built a fence strong enough to keep out coyotes and, more importantly, committees. Evenings on that porch with Mia felt like breathing again. Coffee in hand, crickets singing, no one measuring my lawn with a ruler. "This is why we left the city," she'd say, squeezing my hand. Mia's a detective sergeant, sharp, steady, the kind of woman who lets evidence do the talking because she never needs to raise her voice. We figured Oak Ridge Haven's HOA was someone else's circus. Boy, were we wrong. It started small, the way all tyrannies do, with a smile and a stack of glossy paper. One morning, I opened the mailbox to find a shiny welcome packet addressed to new resident Alex Rivera, Oak Ridge Haven HOA. Bright orange header, smiling stock photo family, the whole corporate cult vibe. Inside, due schedule, approved exterior palette that was basically 12 shades of sad beige, and a cheerful note saying the board had graciously annexed our street last quarter. I actually laughed out loud. "Hey Mia, someone thinks we joined their beige cult." She didn't laugh. She just stared at the envelope like it had insulted her badge. "People like this don't stop at paper, Alex." 3 days later, a bright yellow violation notice was zip-tied to our gate. Mailbox color non-compliant. Must be Sandstone Serenity, within 10 days or $250 daily fine. My mailbox was the standard galvanized steel it came in, apparently too industrial for paradise. The next day, another note fluttered under the windshield wiper. Driveway exceeds approved width by 18 inches. Correct or face lean? I stood there holding both papers, feeling that old firefighter calm settle in my chest. Not rage, just resolve. I started a folder that very night. Photos, timestamps, printed county maps with our parcel glowing bright green outside the shaded HOA zone. If Patty wanted a paper war, she'd get one written by someone who actually understood chain of command. By the following week, the harassment had its own rhythm. 2 polo shirt enforcement volunteers showed up at dusk with measuring tapes, pretending to survey community access, while eyeing my bird feeder like it was a war crime. "Sir, that structure attracts unauthorized wildlife," one sniffed. Unauthorized wildlife. I almost asked if they issued permits for squirrels. Instead, I just smiled, waved my phone recording, and said, "Gentlemen, you're on private property. Leave before I call someone who actually carries handcuffs for a living." They scurried back to their golf cart like scolded children. Patty's next move was pure gold. A handwritten note slid under our gate at midnight. Payment overdue. Community maintenance fee, $1,200. Refusal will result in legal action. No invoice number, no account, just pure intimidation on scented stationery. I added it to the growing binder and laughed so hard Mia came downstairs. "She's charging us for roads we don't even drive on," I said. It's like being mugged by Martha Stewart. But Mia's face stayed serious. "This isn't funny anymore. She's forging jurisdiction. I've seen domestic cases start exactly like this. One person decides they own you. That's when the whispers started. At the corner store, Mrs. Abernathy suddenly found the cereal aisle fascinating whenever I walked in. The mailman stopped chatting. Even the kids on bikes would slow down, stare, then pedal away like I had cooties. Patty had begun her smear campaign. "That new guy refuses to support the community park. and he's hostile to neighborhood standards. Classic. Turn the victim into the villain so no one questions the queen. I spent nights digging through county records online. No annexation filing. No public hearing. No recorded amendment. Just Patty's word against black and white GIS maps. I printed everything, highlighted every seal, and emailed her directly with the clerk copied. Cease all contact. This property is not, has never been, and will never be under Oak Ridge Haven HOA jurisdiction. 24 hours of beautiful silence. Then another notice appeared, this time stapled to my front door at 2 a.m., final warning. Lien imminent. The word lien was underlined 3 times in red like it was supposed to scare me. Mia came out in her robe, phone already recording. She's escalating, she murmured. Next she'll send the golf cart, Gestapo again. I nodded, feeling that cold resolve turn into something sharper. Purpose. Because here's the thing about bullies who hide behind clipboards. They always assume everyone else is as scared of paperwork as they are. They never expect someone who's run into actual burning buildings to treat their little tyranny like just another fire to contain. The real fun started when Patty decided paper wasn't enough. One Thursday night my phone buzzed with a motion alert. Headlights swept across the driveway. A white SUV stopped short of the gate. Out stepped Patty herself, heels clicking, pearls glowing under the security light, carrying a wooden stake and a fresh sign. She hammered it into the grass right on my side of the fence. Oak Ridge Haven HOA property, trespassers prosecuted. Then she looked straight into my camera, smiled like a pageant winner, and drove off. Mia replayed the footage 3 times, her detective eyes narrowing. That's criminal mischief, Alex. And she just handed us the rope. The next morning we drove downtown and filed everything. Video, photos, the whole binder. The deputy who took the report actually whistled. Ladies got balls filing a complaint after this. Because of course Patty had already called the sheriff claiming I'd threatened board members and vandalized community signage. Classic projection. For 2 weeks the neighborhood held its breath. Notices kept coming. Unapproved flag bracket. Excessive bird activity. Even one claiming my oak saplings were unauthorized vegetation. Each time I photographed, time-stamped, and added to the ever-thickening binder I now called the Patty Files. Mia started wearing her body cam every time she stepped outside to garden. We turned our dining table into a war room. Red string connecting dates, forged signatures, financial discrepancies I'd started spotting in the HOA's own public reports. One night over takeout, Mia slid a flash drive across the table. Treasurer finally cracked. He met me at the diner. Turns out Patty's been skimming dues for years, funneling them to her brother's landscaping company that never mowed a single blade. The files were damning. Fake invoices, double-billed repairs, signatures that magically matched mine, but somehow had different pen pressure. I stared at the screen and felt the first real smile in weeks. She built her kingdom on lies, and now the lies have receipts. The tension was thick enough to chew. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Patty's golf cart slowed dramatically every time it passed our house, her eyes burning holes through the windshield. But we kept quiet, kept collecting, kept waiting. Because the best revenge against a control freak isn't yelling. It's letting their own system chew them up from the inside. And Patty was about to discover that when you call the cops on the wrong house, sometimes the cops come for you. The breaking point arrived dressed as a mandatory HOA hearing. Thick cream paper, embossed logo, the words defacement of community property screaming across the top. Apparently removing Patty's illegally planted sign from my own yard was now a capital offense. Mia read it twice, then slid it back with a dangerous little smile. She's panicking. Wants to control the narrative before the county investigators finish their subpoenas. I folded the invitation neatly. Then let's give her the audience she's always dreamed of. The community clubhouse smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Folding chairs crammed with nervous neighbors. Local news crew in the corner. Patty had tipped them off, of course, hoping for a public shaming. At the front table sat the queen herself in a crisp white blazer, pearls gleaming like trophies, flanked by 2 board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. When we walked in, every head turned. Patty's smile sharpened to a razor. Mr. and Mrs. Rivera, so kind of you to join us. We were worried you might be avoiding accountability. Mia placed our binder on the table with the gentle click of finality. Accountability is exactly why we're here. Patty ignored her, launching into her performance for the crowd. Neighbors, we're here because one individual has repeatedly vandalized community signs, spread malicious rumors, and refused to contribute to the greater good. We cannot allow chaos to destroy what we've built. A few polite nods. A few uncomfortable shifts. The usual HOA cult soundtrack. I let her talk. Let her dig. Let her paint me as the villain while the camera crew filmed every theatrical gesture. When she finally paused for dramatic breath, Mia stood. Calm. Professional. Lethal. Actually, Patricia, the only chaos here is criminal. She opened the binder, and the room went graveyard quiet. These are copies of the annexation documents you filed with the county. 6 forged signatures, including my husband's, verified by handwriting experts this morning. Gasps rippled like a wave. Patty's laugh came out high and brittle. That's absurd. He signed them when he moved in. Mia held up the side-by-side comparison. No, he didn't. Same loops, same slant, copied straight from his driver's license on public record. That's not expansion. That's felony fraud. She clicked the projector. Grainy midnight footage filled the wall. Patty's SUV, Patty hammering the stake, Patty smirking at the camera. Criminal trespass, criminal mischief, and, thanks to your own treasurer, embezzlement of HOA funds into your brother's fake company. The board members looked like they'd swallowed lemons. One whispered, Patty, is this true? Patty's face went from pageant pink to courtroom gray. This is a setup. He's been harassing me for months. Mia's voice never rose. Sergeant Mia Rivera, County Detective Division. And everything you just said is now part of an active fraud investigation. She held her badge up just high enough for the lights to catch it. The room exploded in whispers. Cameras clicked like machine gun fire. Patty clutched the table like it might save her. You can't do this. This is my community. Mia's reply was ice. It was never yours to steal from. The double doors at the back opened. 2 uniformed deputies stepped in exactly on cue. Mrs. Langford, we need you to come with us for questioning. Patty's voice cracked into something ugly. This is harassment. I'll sue every one of you. One deputy just smiled politely. You can explain that downtown, ma'am. As they led her out, pearls bouncing with every furious step, the same neighbors who once signed her petitions now refused to meet her eyes. Halfway down the aisle she spun, jabbing a trembling finger at me. You think this makes you heroes? I met her stare without blinking. No, Patty. It just makes us free. The doors closed behind her, and the tension shattered into 100 overlapping conversations. The board president stood on shaky legs. Effective immediately, the current board will cooperate fully with authorities. Meeting adjourned. Outside, the night air tasted clean for the first time in months. Red and blue lights painted the clubhouse walls, same colors that started this nightmare, now ending it. A reporter shoved a mic in my face. Mr. Rivera, any comment? I looked straight into the camera. Just this. Truth doesn't need permission to speak. Mia slipped her arm through mine as we walked to the truck. Behind us, the crowd slowly dispersed, whispering the news story, the one where the queen lost her crown to her own paperwork. The county investigation moved like a glacier, but hit like an avalanche. Subpoenas flew. Accounts froze. Neighbors who once crossed the street to avoid us now stopped by with awkward apologies and casseroles. We had no idea, they'd mumble. She seemed so organized. Yeah, organized crime usually does. Court day arrived wrapped in that special tension only fluorescent lights and bad coffee can create. Patty sat at the defense table in another pearl necklace, hands fidgeting like they were trying to escape. Her lawyer looked like he'd already billed for the loss. When the judge read the charges, falsifying public documents, fraudulent annexation, embezzlement, harassment, each count landed like a hammer. Patty's shoulders shrank with every syllable. The prosecutor laid out the evidence like a master chef plating revenge. Forged signatures. Redirected dues. Midnight steak hammering caught on 4K. When Mia took the stand, her voice stayed calm, professional, devastating. She walked the court through every receipt, every timestamp, every lie. By the time she finished, even the bailiff was nodding. My turn came next. Why document everything? The prosecutor asked. I looked straight at Patty. Because people like her count on you being too scared to fight back. Paper was her weapon. I just used it better. A ripple of quiet laughter ran through the gallery. The good kind. The kind that says justice finally showed up wearing the right shoes. Patty's defense was pure desperation theater. I was only trying to improve the community, she cried. The board handled everything. The board members, now under separate plea deals, took the stand one by one and buried her. She told us not to file anything official. She insisted the signatures were fine. She controlled every check. Each confession was another nail in the coffin she'd built herself. When the judge finally spoke, the room held its breath. Mrs. Langford, the court finds you guilty on all counts. You are ordered to pay full restitution. You are permanently barred from any HOA office for 15 years. And Oak Ridge Haven HOA is hereby dissolved. Patty's mouth opened in a silent scream of pure disbelief. You can't dissolve my community. The gavel cracked once, sharp, final, beautiful. It was never yours to begin with. Outside the courthouse, the sunlight felt different. Cleaner. Reporters swarmed, but their questions blurred into background noise. I just stood there watching Patty climb into a black sedan, pearls catching one last desperate glint before the door slammed. 3 months later, Oak Ridge Haven looked nothing like the beige prison Patty had built. The old clubhouse stood empty, windows papered over. In its place, a new volunteer group formed. No dues, no board, no clipboards. Just neighbors who voted with raised hands and actually talked to each other. Kids rode bikes without looking over their shoulders. Lawns sported wildflowers and the occasional flamingo, because why not? I stood at our gate one golden evening, wrench in hand, removing the last traces of Patty's reign. The metal HOA property sign clanged into the trash can with a satisfying thud. In its place, I hung a simple wooden board I'd carved myself. Private property. Public respect. Mia walked up with 2 coffees, smiling at the new sign. Poetic, she said. Same spot she tried to claim. Now it tells the truth. We sat on the porch as the sky turned violet and crickets started their evening concert. For the first time in forever, the neighborhood felt like it belonged to the people who lived there instead of one woman's ego. So here's the question I want you to answer honestly in the comments. When an HOA Karen forges documents, harasses families, and calls the cops to protect her little kingdom, is she really just enforcing the rules? Or is the real criminal the one who turned community into control? Who was truly in the wrong here? The homeowner who said no, or the queen who couldn't handle it? Drop your thoughts below. Because the next time someone tries to rule your backyard with a clipboard, you'll know exactly what to do.